Hey, I'm Daniel Salatin of Polyface Farm, and I've been farming my whole life.
I'm Joe Koopsen from Joe's Farm.
My name's Christian Alexander from Alexander Kids Eggs. I've been raising chickens for about 20 years now.
My name's Dan Cody, and I run pasture bird operations.
I'm David Shield with Pasture Life Farm in Florida. Been farming for 16 years this March.
My name is John Siskovich, and I'm the founder and creative director at Farm Marketing Solutions.
Hey, I'm Jordan Green from J&L Green Farm in Edinburgh, Virginia. I've been farming since I was a teenager in the mid-90s. Took a 5-year break to go to the Marine Corps, but besides that, it's been my life.
We just got back from the APPPA Conference in Allen, Texas, where we met some of the best pasture poultry farmers in America. But what exactly is APPPA?
APPPA is APPPA, stands for American Pastured Poultry Producers Association.
We sat down with top farmers and asked them questions every beginner once answered. How to start regenerative ag?
That's a good question.
How to afford it? And where the farming industry is heading. Stick around to see how the APPPA Conference has played a crucial role in the success of the best farms in America.
One piece of advice is have mentors and don't be afraid to ask questions and be humble.
Work hard and be smart with what you buy.
Don't feel like you're failing if you're not where you think you need to be as fast as you thought you were going to get there. So try a lot harder than you think, try a lot longer than you think, as you let nature heal itself and move forward on that in its own time.
Analysis paralysis is a real thing. So many people wonder, should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. Let's do more research. You know, when I first started, my wife was very excited and she would just order things. And she's like, guess what? There's 50 layers coming. Okay, we don't have a coop. Well, we'll figure it out, you know. And so that's how we started. Guess what? There's pigs coming. Well, we don't have a place for them. Well, we'll figure it out, you know. And so most folks are so focused on all these multiple details of aspects of farming that they don't start. I say that every person that doesn't try is one less possible farmer out there, and that's sad.
It's about committing and not being afraid just to do something. There's a lot of hesitancy of, oh, do I want to spend my life doing this or doing that? And 10, 20 years of not deciding where to spend your life, you've spent it in indecision. So sometimes you just got to jump in and do something and get going.
The piece of advice that I give most people when they're starting out is to go slow. And don't start big with grand ideas, but start and test things. Can you do it small and well first?
It's probably better to start with one thing and then get really good at that one thing or feel more comfortable with it and then move on to the next thing.
Figure out what works for you in your unique context. Just because you saw a presentation or read something that's done a particular way somewhere else does not mean it's necessarily going to work for you.
Each farm, each soil is going to be unique. The dynamic of your community, the market needs, it's all unique. Go slow, enjoy the journey, and then really, you know, build a knowledge base that you can then build out from later.
Your foundation is what's your passion? You know, how are you going to spend your time? And who do you want to connect with? And if that's not driving what you do every day, and then for me, I'm going to look at those questions again. I would say start off pretty conservative on finances. Get proof of concept. Make sure you have the basics down before you go out there and before you ever consider like leveraging anything, for sure. But I would say a good rule of thumb is to start small and scale up over time so you're financially stable.
Start super small. Exchange your labor and equity for debt. Like, don't try to go into big money, spend a lot of money, get a lot of debt just so that you can have it easy. It's much more enjoyable to work a 10, 12-hour day and be physically exhausted and have no debt so that you can be flexible to pivot, change direction, take advantage of opportunities, what have you, or just sleep well at night. Take your time. Start small, keep the debt load low or to zero, and build slowly. Again, being patient.
I've spoken to many farms that have a no debt policy, and that's pretty honorable. And our family is not that lucky and not able to do that right now. But you know, reading books is pretty much free, starting with the greats like Pasture Poultry Profits. American Pasture Poultry Association has a lot to add and a lot to teach on the poultry side of things. And those are much smaller barriers to entry than other large animals.
The answer that I've never heard to this is, what's your budget? How much money do you need to survive? And then you can take any operation on a spreadsheet, piece of paper, piece of napkin, whatever. How much money do you see that sold for in the store? Take a 30% margin on that and say it's a $30 bird and you're getting a 30% margin. How many birds do you need to raise to live the life that you're living now? And does that number scare the crap out of you?
There's a very large contingent of the farm ownership that's all aging. Being able to come up with a business plan and then to also be trustworthy in the type of people that others would want on their property. I think there's a lot of avenues to try. The old timers don't really want to sell properties, but their kids don't want to do it.
I think a lot of folks have a tendency of overlooking those small patches of land that are kind of forgotten about and also hold a lot of opportunity. The 5 acres, the 4 acres on my neighbor's yard, and partnering too. Let me not forget that, partnering. Don't feel like it has to be your thing. You can still be reaching your dreams of being a full-time farmer or producing food for people or healing the soil or whatever your why is without owning it.
You don't need a barn. You don't need to own land. The big ticket items, you don't need to start farming. I know I got caught up in wanting to own the farm and build the buildings and all these capital things, and that paradigm is just one way to look at it.
That's a good question. I think the future of the pastured poultry is upward trajectory big time. People are seeing this hard way of raising chickens as the right way. I think it'll be 2 or 3, 4 times bigger in 10 years.
I think there's certainly a resurgence. It's real, it's happening. Look at all the events that are happening across the country. People moving out of suburbia and just getting their piece of property, or even being in suburbia and working on their piece of property. And the wave is too big to back up. If you'd have told me 10 years ago we'd be here, I would have not understood or believed. So I think being flexible and being open to new ideas and to new normals, to borrow that phrase, is important.
That there'll be people who are starting businesses, there'll be people who are growing them, finding a lot of success, there'll be people who are struggling, and people who are failing. There's no cut and dried solution or template for duplication. Everyone is going to be unique. Every farm is going to be unique.
I think with land costs going up, that makes regenerative agricultural people's desires to get into that a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. So land availability for regenerative ag opportunities is going to be the key to this.
Hopefully in the next 10 years, there will be more things out there that can help the small guy, the small pasture poultry farmer, and not be so regulated.
Personally, I believe cuts and some regulation would be helpful. And then I think consumers really need to vote with their dollars. If they want to see more people getting into farming, it has to be a viable livelihood. Pasture poultry is going to become more and more mainstream and will become every year just a larger percentage of the overall poultry produced here in America.
80-something% of people are willing to pay more if they know you have a mission. And I think pastured poultry in particular has a really clear mission, right? We want to take these birds out of these houses and put them in the fresh air on pasture. So I'm optimistic.
It's a pretty solid line in the sand of when our farm started to take off and really start to grow was around the time we joined APPPA. Primarily just because of all the connections we made.
It's a place where you get very tactile feedback because you get to see people in person who you don't have to explain who you are or why you're doing something. You can get right down to the nitty-gritty details of how do you implement it and what does that mean for you moving forward.
One thing I've learned in being a part of APPPA is we are all in this together, every farmer, and no matter the differences we have, there's so much more that we all have in common, and everyone's willing to help. It's been an honor being able to help others too.
APPPA is a wonderful resource in the Pasture Poultry Association. I didn't even find out about APPPA until we've been raising birds on pasture for almost 4 years. So quite a bit of experience already, and I found APPPA to be invaluable. the network that you build, the other producers that you meet. You share ideas, you hear their problems, you hear their successes, struggles. It just takes you to a whole nother level.
And there's some amazing resources, probably the highest concentration of poultry processing resources, brains, like in the country right here.
The networking is unbelievable with the amount of knowledge and experience in this room at this event is phenomenal.
Some of the biggest takeaways is just the relationships and meeting different people, having those discussions even outside of the presentations and stuff. Honestly, that is equal or higher value than the presentation. Presentations are awesome, but meeting the people is equally so.
APPPA is for anybody who has, wants to, or did raise poultry. If you're looking to get in, it's a great place to learn. If you're already in, it's a great place to exchange ideas and grow. And if you've already been there and done that and you're wanting to relax, it's a great place to give back. Again, from start to finish, you have a place here and we want you to be involved.
We've learned a lot from the best farmers in America, and if you want to see them in action, check out this playlist of our farm tours with them. Or, if you want to improve daily operations on your farm, check out how we manage a 1,200-acre ranch. Make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with more farmer advice.